something a narcissist could never bear, not even if they begged for it. Psychologists often say the strongest form of survival isn't measured by how much the body can endure, but by the soul's refusal to give up. And that idea is exactly where today's story begins, with the one thing the narcissist could never take from you. Sit with that for a moment. Really let it settle, because in the long, exhausting war you never chose to enter, the narcissist may have stripped away pieces of your life, your confidence, your safety, but even at their most vicious, there were sacred parts of you they simply couldn't reach, let alone destroy. For years, we've talked about everything they tried to pull away from you: your identity, your self-esteem, your energy, your sense of peace. And psychologists confirm that in many abusive dynamics, narcissists do manage to drain these things temporarily. They succeed because people like you, empathetic, big-hearted, loyal, keep giving even when the other person stopped deserving anything at all. But despite all their psychological warfare, despite every manipulative tactic, there were parts of you they never managed to touch. They couldn't steal your purpose. Purpose is too deep, too rooted, too sacred. They couldn't take your future because the future never belonged to them in the first place. And they absolutely could not stop your healing, because healing begins the moment you choose clarity over chaos. But don't forget this, they tried. Narcissists are experts at emotional predation. They targeted your time because they knew it was the one thing you couldn't ever get back. They tried to drain your money, your energy, your drive. They used your empathy, your greatest gift, as their personal tool. They chipped away at your relationships to isolate you. They poked at your health because a weakened target is easier to control. Yet for all that damage, all that rehearsed manipulation, some parts of you always remained untouchable. And here's the chilling truth psychologists emphasize over and over: you were never their first victim, and you will not be their last. Narcissists repeat the same pattern everywhere they go. They inflict it on siblings who grew up terrified of their rage. They inflict it on romantic partners who confuse intensity with love. They inflict it on new supplies they juggle behind closed doors. They even inflict it on their own children, colleagues, friends, neighbors, anyone they can extract something from. Their behavior isn't random. It's routine. It's a system. It's a craft honed over years of emotional harvesting. And the thing they're always hunting for, more than your money, more than your time, is your light. That inner brilliance psychologists say narcissists can detect instantly. They are drawn to it because they do not have it. They cannot generate their own sense of worth, so they take it from those who do. I've always called it your beautiful, bright, shining light. And I choose those words carefully, because during the relationship, you didn't feel bright at all. You felt dimmed, suppressed. Every day, they chipped away at your radiance. You were dismissed, ignored, invalidated. Your needs were treated like burdens. You were left trying to fix a relationship psychologists say was structurally impossible to repair. And the part victims usually realize too late is this: the narcissist knew exactly what they were doing. Long before you came along, they had been practicing. Manipulation, for them, isn't an accident. It's a skill set. Psychologists describe it as an emotional craft refined through trial and error. They learned what tactics caused the fastest collapse in previous partners, co-workers, even family members. They weaponized charm, guilt, confusion, and fear. And the moment they recognized something valuable in you, your empathy, your stability, your intelligence, your strength, they initiated the cycle. First comes the love bombing, a whirlwind so intoxicating it makes you question your instincts. Psychologists say this phase is engineered to fast-track your trust. Affection, promises, future fantasies. It's all designed to disarm you, but that phase is only bait. The real goal is extraction, emotional extraction, psychological extraction. Once they're convinced they have you anchored, the devaluation begins. Coldness, subtle jabs, dismissiveness, constant emotional whiplash that keeps your nervous system on high alert. And eventually, the discard, an abrupt ending that leaves you stunned, often with a new supply already secured. Some victims face the fourth stage. The hoover, the attempt to suck you back in, not out of love, but out of hunger. And now we're entering what psychologists call holiday hoover season. when nostalgia and loneliness make victims more vulnerable. If you haven't gone no contact, now is the time to consider it. If you're planning an exit, prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, and logistically. Because here is the hard truth. Narcissists do not change. They do not stumble into empathy. They do not wake up one day filled with remorse. The emptiness inside them, what psychologists describe as chronic emotional void, rules their lives. It shapes every decision, keeps them forever hungry. And yet, here you are. Despite everything, you did the one thing they never expected. You changed. Narcissists assume their abuse will keep their victims broken. But psychologists remind us that survivors often possess extraordinary resilience. You woke up. You grew. You transformed. They believed they could extinguish your light, but all they did was force it to evolve into something stronger, sharper, more luminous. They didn't take your mindset forever. They didn't take your energy forever. They didn't take your finances forever. Yes, they stole seasons of your life, moments, memories, health, but the human spirit can rebuild. Psychologists say that once healing begins, the narcissist's power dissolves. And as you reclaim yourself, you reclaim everything that matters. Your peace, your clarity, your confidence, your ability to trust your own voice again. They couldn't touch your purpose. They couldn't break your will to survive. They couldn't dim your hunger for truth or your instinct to rise. Narcissists avoid closure because closure sets you free. They avoid accountability because it exposes them. They avoid introspection because introspection requires a self they don't possess. And that's why you are different. Victims before the internet age had no language for what they were living through. No tools, no education, no community. Many stayed trapped for decades. But you searched, you questioned, you learned, you connected the dots. You sought answers until clarity finally came. And now you stand here, a beautiful, bright, shining light, untouched in the places that matter most. Psychologists often say that recovery after narcissistic abuse doesn't begin with loud breakthroughs or bold declarations. It begins in silence, long before the outside world sees any sign of courage. And that is exactly what the cocoon of boundaries represents. It's not weakness and it's not escape. It's a sanctuary, a psychological shelter where your nervous system finally gets a chance to breathe after years of emotional whiplash. In this cocoon, you aren't hiding from the world. You're healing from the wounds that the world couldn't see. You're learning how to trust your instincts again. You're relearning the difference between genuine care and manipulation. You're making space for your own voice, a voice that had been buried under someone else's chaos for far too long. Trauma specialists often say this phase is unavoidable, because just like the caterpillar must dissolve before it becomes a butterfly, you too must shed what was never yours to carry. This period can feel lonely, confusing, or even frightening. You might find yourself wary of new people, suspicious of kindness, or hyper-aware of every emotional shift in your surroundings. Psychologists call this post-abuse hypervigilance, a state where your mind keeps scanning for danger long after the danger has passed. But this isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof of how hard you fought to survive. Your brain is trying to make sure you'll never be blindsided the same way again. And while the narcissist hoped this hypervigilance would trap you forever, what they couldn't see is that every day spent inside the cocoon was actually another step toward freedom. With each quiet hour, you're strengthening your boundaries, sharpening your intuition, and reclaiming pieces of your identity one breath at a time. They expected you to collapse under the weight of everything they did. Instead, you are quietly rebuilding yourself into someone they can no longer reach. And here's where the transformation becomes unmistakable. The narcissist cannot follow you into your healing. They simply don't have the emotional depth or self-awareness required for genuine growth. Psychologists explain that introspection would destabilize them, so they avoid it at all costs. That's why they keep repeating the same patterns, chasing validation the way an addict chases a fix, desperate and restless. And as you expand, they shrink. As you become clearer, they become transparent. The version of you they manipulated no longer exists. Their charm no longer hypnotizes you. Their chaos no longer derails you. Their silence no longer wounds you. In psychological terms, you've broken the trauma bond, And that is one of the few things a narcissist can never undo. What infuriates them and empowers you is the revelation that comes once you see their pattern clearly. The moment you understand their cycle of idealizing, devaluing, discarding, and hoovering, the entire illusion collapses. You stop falling for promises because now you recognize patterns. You no longer mistake manipulation for passion. You see through their rehearsed apologies, their well-timed affection, the crocodile tears they use to provoke your empathy. Psychologists call this shift cognitive clarity, the point where you become the observer instead of the target. And when that happens, the narcissist loses their greatest weapons: your doubt, your confusion, and your emotional availability. Without those, their power evaporates. In their frustration, they do what they always do: they reinvent themselves. They change their tone, their personality, their beliefs, even their morals if it helps them hook the next unsuspecting soul. But psychologists remind us that none of this is real. It's all mimicry. They are emotional actors, copying traits that win them access to new sources of attention. But you, in contrast, are becoming whole again. You are reconnecting with your authenticity, the parts of you that existed long before the manipulation began. And as you grow, you're entering what psychologists call post-traumatic growth, the stage where survivors emerge wiser, stronger, and more grounded than they were even before the abuse. This is why the narcissist ultimately failed. While they spent their energy trying to dim your light, they underestimated your ability to reignite it. Every boundary you set, every insight you gain, every healing habit you practice becomes armor they can no longer penetrate. Therapists often recommend journaling, meditation, trauma education, and self-reflection not because they are trendy, but because these practices literally rewire the brain after emotional abuse. Every moment you write the truth, your mind reorganizes itself. Every quiet breath you take in meditation teaches your nervous system how to feel safe again. Every bit of knowledge you gain about narcissistic behavior reduces their power over you. And with each new layer of clarity, their influence fades further into the past. Now you stand at the edge of a threshold. You might not feel completely ready to step out of the cocoon yet, and that's perfectly okay. Healing that's rushed becomes fragile, but healing that's paced becomes permanent. Even if you're only starting to test the world again, reaching out to new people, reclaiming old hobbies, trusting yourself one decision at a time, you are leagues beyond where the narcissist ever imagined you would be. They counted on your destruction. They never planned for your rebirth. You are healing. You are rising. You are remembering who you were before the darkness and discovering someone even more powerful now. The narcissist could never take that from you, and they never will. When psychologists talk about learning toxicity, naming the cycle, or understanding trauma bonds, they're really describing a kind of awakening, one that usually happens only after you've reached your emotional limit. You're not just collecting vocabulary or memorizing concepts. You're rebuilding a worldview that someone quietly, systematically dismantled. Every new insight becomes part of an internal compass you didn't even know you needed, something that slowly recalibrates your judgment, sharpens your intuition, and restores the instincts that were buried under confusion for far too long. Survivors often describe this period as the moment they suddenly see with a new lens. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition. It's your nervous system finally having the language to explain what your gut had been warning you about for years. And then comes the cutting of the four ties: emotional, financial, physical, and spiritual. Psychologists say these are the pillars of real freedom, each one representing a different place where the narcissist once anchored their influence. Emotional ties keep you hoping. Financial ties keep you dependent. Physical ties keep you accessible. Spiritual ties keep you doubting yourself. Many survivors manage to break 3 of them but leave one untouched, and that one remaining thread becomes a doorway, an energetic corridor where the narcissist's influence slips back into your mind like smoke under a door. It's why so many people feel pulled backward without understanding why. The body keeps score, the psyche remembers, and until every tie is severed, the narcissist remains a haunting, familiar shadow in your emotional system. This is often the turning point. Some survivors arrive here, look at the work ahead, and feel overwhelmed, afraid it will shatter them. But psychologists remind us that this work is not punishment. It's liberation. It's the process of gathering all the scattered pieces of yourself that were silenced, shamed, or stolen. When you finally cut all four ties, you don't just walk away from the narcissist. You walk toward a new path they never wanted you to find. And that path is rarely what you expect. Survivors often describe a startling shift where they begin seeing deeper truths hidden beneath the pain. Truths about boundaries, childhood wounds, intuition, purpose. The questions that arise no longer come from suffering but from clarity. Why was I vulnerable to this? What pattern was I repeating? How did my empathy become self-abandonment? These questions don't break you, they free you. Eventually, you reach what psychologists call post-traumatic meaning-making, the stage where your suffering transforms into wisdom. And the wisdom that emerges here is not meant to be hoarded. Survivors who heal deeply often feel drawn to help others, not necessarily by becoming teachers or advocates, but simply through their presence. They can read people differently. They sense intentions beneath words. They catch shifts in tone that others overlook. In psychological terms, empathy becomes emotional intelligence, something steady, intuitive, almost instinctual. You don't get swept up in someone's story. You feel the truth underneath it. You don't fight to save people. You protect your peace. And part of that wisdom is realizing the world isn't split into narcissists and empaths. Most people live in the gray, flawed, human, capable of growth. Psychologists often remind survivors that this understanding is essential for re-entering the world without fear. You stop seeing every person as a threat, but you also stop handing out unrestricted access to your heart. That balance, softness without naivete, is the quiet badge of someone who is healed. You still love deeply. You just love wisely. When you step back and look at your journey, you'll notice something powerful. The narcissist didn't break you. They revealed you. They unearthed every wound that needed attention, every boundary that needed reinforcement, every pattern asking to be rewritten. And when the dust finally settled, you began to see the truth they hoped you'd never discover. They never destroyed you. They only delayed you. They dimmed your light, but they could not extinguish it. And now, standing in this new clarity, you understand the reason they targeted you was never your weakness. It was your radiance. This transformation, from victim to survivor to awakened empath, is something the narcissist could never take. The irony, as psychologists often point out, is almost poetic. Narcissistic abuse often becomes the catalyst for the victim's greatest evolution. You grow not despite the pain, but because of what you learned through it. You reach the mountaintop of true indifference, a place where the narcissist becomes irrelevant, not through anger but through emotional sovereignty. And that is a summit they will never touch, because it requires a depth of self-awareness they simply do not possess. So yes, there is a way out. There is life after the ruins. There is a version of you on the other side of all this, stronger and clearer than you've ever been. The narcissist bet everything on your destruction. But you're still here. You're rebuilding. You're rising. And no matter how heavy the darkness feels right now, never forget this. They took nothing from you that cannot be restored. Healing is not punishment. It is your inheritance. And if I could climb out, if I could rebuild what was broken, then you can too. Believe in yourself the way I believe in you. You're beautiful, bright, shining light isn't just returning. It's becoming something far more powerful than it has ever been.